The Federal Reserve makes another rate cut decision. Hurricane Melissa makes landfall in Cuba, and our nation's capital sees a spike in violence. I'm Georgia Howe with Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley. It's Wednesday, October 29th, and this is Evening Wire.
The Federal Reserve slashed rates today in a move they say will keep the job market afloat. Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips reports.
The Fed has lowered its benchmark rate by a quarter point, down to a range of 3.75 to 4%. It's the second cut this year, following a similar move in September. Policymakers now say they're walking a tightrope by trying to support a slowing labor market without letting inflation, which is slightly above the Fed's 2% target, get out of control. The central bank blamed tariff pressures and global trade uncertainty for current rising prices and hinted that it could act again if hiring continues to weaken.
After leaving devastation in Jamaica, a weakened but still strong Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba early this morning. The Category 3 storm clocked wind speeds of about 125 miles per hour, causing widespread flooding and power outages. The storm has since weakened to a Category 2 and now travels toward the Bahamas, where it's expected to make landfall this evening. Dozens of deaths have been reported in Jamaica, and the number is expected to rise. Early media reports suggest there is catastrophic damage on the island.
Israel has pledged to abide by the terms of the ceasefire after trading attacks with Hamas on Tuesday. The Israeli military conducted airstrikes in the Hamas-run region of the Gaza Strip after a terrorist killed an IDF soldier in Gaza's south. The Israeli military said the strikes hit dozens of terror targets and terrorists, and that it's begun renewed enforcement of the ceasefire in response to Hamas's violations. For his part, President Trump warned Hamas today that it needs to behave.
And Hamas is a very small part of the overall Middle East peace. We have peace in the Middle East. If we have to, we'll take out Hamas very easily, and that'll be the end of Hamas. We would rather not. We made a deal with them where they were going to behave, and they have to behave. If they don't behave, they get taken out.
The Trump administration has hit another deportation milestone. Daily Wire immigration reporter Jenny Tare has the numbers.
The Trump administration has already deported more than 527,000 illegal immigrants from the country. At the current pace, federal authorities could deport 600,000 by the end of President Trump's first year in office. Despite the progress, it still falls short of the administration's lofty goal of deporting 1 million illegal immigrants each year. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons told the Daily Wire last month that the agency can still make that happen with its push for illegal immigrants to, quote, self-deport. The administration is offering a $1,000 bonus and free flights home to those who choose to leave on their own. DHS says roughly 1.6 million have already self-deported.
5 Senate Republicans joined with Democrats on Tuesday in a vote denouncing President Trump's tariffs on Brazil. Daily Wire senior editor Joel Needler has more.
Senators Susan Collins of Maine, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul of Kentucky, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Tom Tillis of North Carolina sided with Senate Democrats in a 52-48 vote against the president's trade policy. The vote exposes a small rift in the GOP between the president and some lawmakers. McConnell said in a statement defending his vote, quote, "Tariffs make both building and buying in America more expensive. Protectionists eagerly celebrate the revenue from tariff duties, but they don't talk nearly as much about how much of that revenue they'll spend protecting American growers and producers from the avoidable harm of their policies."
The GOP appears to actually be getting more popular over the course of the shutdown. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton voiced his own surprise at the development this week, as polls indicate Republicans are not seeing a drop in popularity. When host John Berman predicted that political pain would be what ultimately brought people to the table, Enton said Democrats might be the only ones feeling the pain.
You might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
And so how do Democrats? How are they positioned right now?
This is, in fact, the worst position Democrats have been on in a generic ballot at this point in midterm when there was a Republican president in the last 20 years.
Newly released FBI documents reveal an even more wide-ranging investigation by Biden's DOJ into President Trump and his supporters than previously known. Daily Wire assistant editor Andy Valdez has the story.
The House Judiciary Committee says the FBI's Arctic Frost probe may have targeted more than 150 Republican officials and allies. The committee says investigators used FBI field offices from across the country to conduct their probe. They ended up interviewing more than 40 Republican-aligned individuals, and also looked into as many as 111 others. The operation, which reportedly began under FBI Director Chris Wray, was carried on by Special Counsel Jack Smith under then Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Vice President J.D. Vance addressed this week the prospect of him running for president in 2028 with Marco Rubio as his VP. President Trump said this week that a Vance-Rubio ticket would be, quote, unstoppable. So Miranda Devine asked Vance about it on her Pod Force One podcast. Vance replied, Trump floated it, quote, probably 6 months ago, and that he's mentioned it to Rubio in the past, at least in jest.
It feels so premature because we're still so early. And what I always say to people is, if we take care of business, the politics will take care of itself. And we're 9 months into this thing. We've done a lot of good. There's a lot more work to do because, I mean, look, the thing that I most worry about is that Biden left us a terrible affordability crisis. We've got to make life more affordable for American citizens again. So my attitude is, the American people elected me to be vice president. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make the president successful over the next 3 years and 3 months.
FBI Director Kash Patel has reportedly shut down an unauthorized probe into possible foreign involvement in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Daily Wire reporters' actual reports.
The New York Times reports that Patel ended the National Counterterrorism Center's inquiry during a tense White House meeting. The probe, led by NCTC Chief Joe Kent, was looking into whether foreign entities played a role in Kirk's killing. Kent had reportedly gained access to FBI case files through a low-level official, but without formal authorization. Patel viewed the move as an overreach that could compromise the FBI's own investigation. Following the White House meeting, which included Patel, Kent, Tulsi Gabbard, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and J.D. Vance, the NCTC's investigation was formally shut down.
The nation's capital saw a spike in violence. 12 people were shot within 9 hours and 3 cars were stolen. The incidents took place at 7 locations across the district and appear unrelated to one another. 5 victims were shot near Howard University as the school celebrated homecoming weekend. Police seized 2 19-year-olds and 3 guns connected to that shooting, and more arrests are expected. The spike comes amid a drop in crime throughout D.C. as federal forces continue to support police.
And several aggressive research monkeys were at large in Mississippi's Jasper County. The incident happened after a truck carrying the primates flipped. Officials say 5 were, quote, destroyed, while 1 remains at large. The 40-pound animals were said to have variants of hepatitis, herpes, and COVID. Tulane University, who uses the monkeys for research, insists they were not infectious, but animal rights groups are still sounding the alarm, with PETA calling the incident a public health disaster waiting to happen. Local wildlife officials and animal control teams remain on high alert, still hoping to capture the remaining escapee.
All right, those are your drive home updates this evening. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it earlier today, we covered some major stories, including the Senate hearing on political violence, a brewing power struggle shaking up ICE leadership, and new controversies plaguing Zohran Mamdani. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.